everybody, today I'm gonna show you 2 ways to get like a natural finish everyday foundation. I feel like everybody has a misconception of like how foundation looks, and they think it's like super heavy and super like cakey and full coverage, and it doesn't really have to be that way. You can make it look like super natural and super like daytime appropriate, which is actually one of my pet peeves. I hate like putting on my makeup and feeling like I'm like super done, especially during the day. It feels kind of heavy, especially here in Miami, which is so hot and so humid. Makeup doesn't last, it melts off your face. So this is gonna be long wearing, it's gonna be comfortable, and it's gonna look super natural. So we're gonna go with like the first method. So the method that I prefer to use for everyday makeup application, foundation application I should say, is really using concealer as foundation. So it really goes on like a tinted moisturizer. It provides coverage, but it doesn't give like crazy amount of coverage, so your skin is gonna show through. So what I like to do is take a very full coverage concealer, and something like this one, like the Born This Way by Too Faced, is gonna work amazingly. So first of all, you have to make sure that you prep your skin really well. I already did my skincare, but I'm gonna add like an extra layer of moisturization, and I'm gonna use some makeup, like some oil, and I'm just gonna take like a couple drops, and I'm just gonna add it on the perimeter of my face, so like the cheekbones and like just like around here, and maybe the remaining product I'm gonna put it in the center of my face. But I really don't want a lot because I don't want this area to get like super oily either. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the concealer, and I'm just gonna put it under my eyes, in the center of my face, going outwards, on my chin, around my mouth, and this is gonna create like a lift, which is gonna look really nice, around my nose because I get a lot of redness in that area, and down my nose. Everything else, we're gonna blend this, and if we see that we need more coverage in other areas, like for example like here, we're gonna do that after we blend everything out, just to see how much coverage we actually really need. So it's better always to build up than put on too much product and have to take it off. So one of the tools that I like to use is a sponge, and this one is very old and looks horrendous, but this one is a Real Technique sponge. You can also use a beauty blender. I use them interchangeably really because I find they work pretty similar. But the sponge is gonna actually lift away some of the product that you put on your skin, so the finish is gonna be more natural, as opposed to using like a very dense brush, like something like the Artist brush, which is gonna give you more coverage. So make sure to blend really well, and for the corners of the eyes I find it's better to use your fingers because you can really get into the little like spaces. Sometimes what I also like to do is to use a brush, a dense brush, under my eyes, just because I do want a lot more coverage in some areas. So for example, if I wanted, I feel like I could use more coverage like around my nose and under my eyes, right? So I'm gonna layer more product in those areas, and I'm gonna take an Artist brush, and this is the Oval 6, which is perfect for the eyes, and I'm just gonna work the product in. And this is gonna give me more coverage in the areas that I really need it. I feel like I could use more coverage maybe here, although I doubt it's gonna look a lot better just because it's It's actually a scab, not even like a pimple or anything. But I'm just gonna stamp the product and blend the edges with the brush. So this is method 1, and I really like it because you only use one product. You don't need a foundation and then a concealer, and it looks super natural. It's super lightweight. It's gonna last a long time because the layers are very thin on the skin. So the thinner the layers, the more long lasting it's gonna be. So now on to method 2. Okay, so the other way that I like to do like a very natural day-to-day foundation routine, I hate that term, but the other way that I like to do my makeup, like my foundation for everyday wear, is just use a regular foundation but really thin it out and use a sponge. So I'm actually using the Becca Skin Love foundation, which is medium to full coverage, so it's gonna give you a decent coverage, and it has like a blurring effect. I really like this. It is normal to matte-ish finish. It's not super matte, but it's not dewy. I find it to be like very like skin-like, like a very skin-like finish. So I'm just gonna take a little bit and not a lot. This actually spreads out really well, so if you take, I don't know if you are able to see it, if it's focusing, but just less than a pea size amount, and I dot it in the center in the areas where I need the coverage the most. And I actually, for this foundation in particular, I like to spread it out with my fingers initially, and then just very roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're gonna use a tool. And then go over with a sponge and blend it really well. Okay, so once you have the foundation completely blended in, you're gonna take a concealer, and I'm again using the Too Faced Born This Way. You can use whatever concealer you want or you like, and I'm just gonna use a lot less than what I used previously, just under my eyes, around my nose because it gets really red, the tip of my nose, and just the corners of my lips because I feel like it gives me, I don't know, it kind of lifts everything up. So it's very strategically placed. Strategically, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but nevertheless. Okay, so that's my foundation done, concealer and everything. And I'm gonna say I feel like the technique using only the concealer gives you more coverage because concealer, like I said, is designed to cover like very intense pigmentation or discoloration. So it is actually, you're gonna need less product, but that little amount of product is gonna have more pigment than say something like a foundation, which is supposed to give you like a light veil of color, if that makes any sense. So I feel like if you want a more full coverage finish that feels lightweight and that is not gonna sit on the skin, you go for something like the concealer technique, because this is what I do on most days, to be honest, because I do like to cover my pigmentation, but I feel like I don't have always the time to use a foundation and then a concealer. So I don't know, that's just what works for me. Of course, on my clients, when I have more time, I do the foundation, like a light layer of foundation, and then go with concealer, because I feel like I can maybe get like a more perfect finish that's also like super light. But you know, for everyday life, we just don't have the time to always do that. So I'm gonna go finish my makeup and I'm gonna come back when I'm done. Okay, so that's my makeup done, and this is actually a very good example of what I would wear day to day. I don't like to wear a lot of makeup, like I said. I would even tone down the eyes a bit because I feel like this is maybe a bit too much, but I wanted to look pulled together for the video. So just to recap, do your skincare, prep your skin really well, make sure it's very well hydrated and moisturized, because it's gonna give a really good base for the products to adhere to the skin and look more natural, and just not to like separate and look super cakey. And just find the technique that really works for you. It's a matter of trial and error. So for me, sometimes I can use a lot of like dewy products. I know that that's like a trend, like using a lot of like highlighter and all that, because I feel like it emphasizes my texture and I don't really like that. So you just have to try a little bit. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you liked it. I'll see you soon.